In my opinion, a divorce is good. Discard, since I doubt this will win me any friends, even among those who support retribution. A number of years ago, this whole thing came to my mind. My friend suggested that I tell someone about my divorce, so I did. Started not long ago. So I thought we were doing okay. We were just your average middle-class suburban working couple. Having 2 children, a strong relationship, and a secure financial situation. There were 14 girls and 9 boys at the time. I thought our social life was really excellent. We were experiencing a typical rocky stretch as a married couple. Unfortunately, we were both too busy working long hours to enjoy one another's company. Family strife was at an all-time high as my kid struggled with certain developmental delays. She seemed to be texting with her friends on her phone more frequently than before. I gave it little consideration. I started trying really hard to take time off work when I could, help out around the house, and be more approachable emotionally, but the distance just grew in a matter of weeks. Unexpectedly, I came upon a few texts. I discovered some troubling conversations between my son and a man from her hometown named Jim Bob Cowder, abbreviated as JBC, when I went to charge an old iPad for him. Her Facebook Messenger was still on. Although not all of the texts were inappropriate, the times and context made it clear that many were missing. After making a mental note to monitor the situation, I got to work trying to fix things. The next day, when I had taken the day off to finish certain tasks that I thought would bring her joy, I left her some heartfelt notes that expressed my gratitude for all she did. Still chatting with her pals in the living room corner, she was at it again. I whisked the boy's iPad into the office, fired up Facebook Messenger, and witnessed my wife tear me to shreds in real time. Joking about with me, her and JBC. The vulnerabilities, anxieties, and secrets that I had shared with my husband were suddenly used as ammunition by her and JBC. Even though there was graphic sexual content, the whole conversation had a sweet romance vibe to it. This was particularly true when she was critiquing my SAC performance. I managed to get a few screenshots, but I failed to capture a considerable amount of texts since she repeatedly erased them as the conversation continued. I wasn't in the right frame of mind to confront her. I drank a couple of drinks and waited in the office until she slept out. The next day, I slept, drank, and thought about what to do next. I only pretended that I had a rough day when my wife came home and wanted to know what was wrong. I resorted to watching the train accident unfold on the iPad a few minutes later. I began to drink heavily, take screenshots, and emotionally distance myself from the relationship for a few weeks. Without a doubt, I had made my decision. My wife was totally into the texting, and JBC was throwing in lots of I love yous. It was clear that they were getting sentimental. I took the next step by consulting with an attorney, who helped me understand my options. Things started to get extremely strange at this point. I learned from the texts that JBC was planning to visit town and stay at a nice hotel for the weekend with my wife. I could deduce when and where it took place, but I was severely short in specifics. I'm sure they had a phone conversation regarding it at some time. Sure as poop. The next day, my wife is trying to win me over by proposing a spa getaway for the ladies so she can recharge her marriage-focused batteries when she gets back. I will stop at nothing to help us get back on track. I think it's her finest idea ever. And I'm by her side the whole way. I had the attorney draft a formal separation agreement specifying that she is to vacate the premises and that we will have weekend visitation rights. Child support won't start coming in until the divorce is finalized, which means I'm in for the worst 2 weeks of my life. Now that everything has happened, I no longer care about her and am enraged like never before. The fateful day has arrived. I decide to skip work that day. In order to leave her half alone, I take half of the money at accounts that are associated with us. I had already changed the bank that received my paycheck. I close the money market account we were using, collect a cashier's check for her portion, and open a new account for my portion. Since I would rather not be at home, I go to Office Max and print off about 75 pages of screenshots from Facebook Messenger. Then I erase the time from my calendar. In her goodbye text, she assures me that she loves me and that she is going. Have fun, I tell her. Around 7:30 p.m., I reach the hotel, and from the lobby, dial the number of the wife. A voicemail is immediately triggered. They most likely already are. No big deal. To get in touch with JBC's room, I go to the front desk and inquire about using the phone. He doesn't answer until the phone rings 3 times. JBC. Hello? Would you mind escorting my wife to the lobby, JBC? My friend JBC, I have no idea what you're talking about. RR, I suppose it would be best if I contacted Mrs. JBC and summoned her to this place. Aside from her first name, I had no idea he was married. JBC shivers in terror, his voice is muted. Take action now, you only have 5 minutes. My humiliated wife comes out of the elevator less than 2 minutes later. I placed her on the corner of the lobby. Things aren't what they seem to be, she starts babbling. This is not a discussion. All of this paperwork describes what's going on. Unless you go immediately, I will send a copy to everyone we know, including our child, your parents, and you." Husband was quite pleased. Their relationship would have likely terminated if the daughter had known, since she was going through a rebellious teenage phase. As the cherished offspring of her parents, wife was perpetually self-conscious about how they perceived her. Because of my lack of power, I had no choice but to subject them to public shame. In addition, I had a feeling she would do everything it took to protect her reputation, as it is the center of her professional existence. "That is her." Whisper. Softly. Sounds too faint to be heard. "I am. Half of the money market account amount is represented by this check. All other joint accounts have had half their cash withdrawn. There ought to be plenty for you to secure a spot." She starts to weep slightly. I could almost feel the whirlwind of emotions and ideas going through her, but we must not lose momentum now. "I am. This separation plan seems fair to me considering the circumstances. This must be reviewed by you, signed by you, and left at the residence when you get your possessions. Are you interested in taking a quick look at these screenshots?" "That is her." "No, I am. Very well. Join JBC for some fun. I will send this if you return to the residence. Remains in place. Rima images captured for screen capture. Attention all individuals." I hear her having a nervous breakdown as I jolt out of the entryway. I go out to a parking lot in my car and have a tantrum of my own, complete with tears and anger. I mustered all the strength to take it off, even though in the past I would have cried and yelled at her. Neither that night nor the weekend I have no idea what she did. She wanted to talk, so she texted and called a lot. Within minutes of my putting the phone down, she had agreed to have her items collected by movers on Monday afternoon. I gave her permission to talk to the kids, and she basically told them that even if mom and dad were gone for a while, they still love you. Common terms used in a divorce settlement. After a week, her goal is to finally have an honest chat. I should have listened to her, but I lied to her since I had my plans all figured out. She expresses deep regret. Another chance appeals to her. Her family is important to her. She is really flexible. She has fallen to her knees and is sobbing into my lap. I will never, ever want her back. I inform her that she has to arrange marital therapy alone, at a time that works for me. She has to spend time with the kids to keep their link strong, I tell her, but I can't live with her. A new habit forms in her life 3 times a week. She visits the house, prepares dinner, and shares it with the kids. A plate is always saved for me by her. I hid my presence. Before heading back to her abode, she cleans the house and does the laundry for the kids. Guidance was provided to us. She was able to work through her issues with the therapist, discover her motivations, ask for forgiveness, and I patiently played the victim. I would not provide her another chance. My only goal was to get control of the situation, make it obvious that she did not reside in the house, and solidify my role as the primary caregiver for the children. I go to my personal therapist after a few months and get a diagnosis of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. My manager says it's fine for me to work part-time for the time being. She remains my soulmate, and I may give our relationship another go after 6 months of therapy, but for now I just can't forgive her and want a final divorce. I promised to give it another go at a later date, and she agreed to the divorce, albeit she was devastated. I needed the kids to be willing to stay with me when I filed for divorce. On the family computer, I did a Google search for how to survive your wife's infidelity. In the kitchen, I left some printed materials about the subject, which is not exactly discreet. Tearfully, my daughter brought them to my attention. I reassured her that her mother had erred, that I would never leave her side, that she loved her, and that she wasn't meant to find out about things. Even though my wife was once highly esteemed by my daughter, she eventually ruined her since she could no longer speak to her without yelling. Little brother naturally wanted to remain with dad in the house where they grew up, just like big sister did, when the courts asked for comments from the children a few months later. After the divorce was finalized, I was given the house. It was acceptable that I had to pay off some of her equity. I was able to get our children's primary custody. My part-time employment caused a significant earnings gap, which led to substantial child support payments that I had to make. For the past 2 years, I've managed to live at home with my kids, work part-time, get my now ex to pay for it, and enjoy myself with Tinderellas and a few FBWs that I've taken care of. My kids look up to me as a role model for parents because I never give up and am always there when they need me. I will always be the one that my ex-girlfriend thinks escaped. She will never forget me. Plus, I can invite her over for a romantic evening anytime I want by using the possibility of reconciliation as an incentive. Yet, that will never come to pass. I skipped over it since it was too lengthy. Things worked out in the end, and we got a divorce. Greetings to everybody. It would mean a lot if you could share this, leave a comment, and subscribe. In a lot of ways, I could use it. Thank you. Incredible in its ruthlessness, efficiency, coldness, and calculation. Nothing here isn't pro-revenge. Quite methodical. more than a few people will be irritated by the level of manipulation, in my opinion. Yet, in terms of practicality, this is probably the best outcome. Your daughter and your ex-partner had already broken up because of his infidelity. Since you couldn't trust her again after the lies, you would still be seeking a divorce even if you had confronted her. Your wife is the sole victim here. In my opinion, you made the right choice in maximizing your own happiness. Under the present setup, the kids would have been significantly worse off than they would have been with two discontented parents. Yes, I am for retribution. Oh no, it was still pro-revenge, even though I disagree with some of the arguments. The most important thing is that your children are happy, therefore I wish them the best. The real victims are going unnoticed by everyone. Once again, the hotel staff had no choice but to put on a professional front, smile and console an unfaithful spouse. An additional shift, an additional remedy for new hires. Quite barbaric. My face lights up with joy. For quite some time, this has been the best reading material for me. If we ever play chess, I hope we never have to. It was great how things worked out in the end, especially with the child support from working part-time. You offer her a chilly and hard optimism, but it's undeniably professional. Your new life appears to be well-deserved, so best of luck to you.